Just a quick note, this is a re-edited and revised version, as the original got age restricted for being a bit too raunchy, and as such the background here is mostly just still images of less explicit nature, just to be on the safe side this time. Sorry for the inconvenience. Hello everyone, I'm Cheese and I do hope you're all doing great today. So let's talk animated is, or more precisely fanservice. Quite often fanservice exists as a little bit of fun, and sometimes it can be executed to a beautiful or even artistic degree, but more often than not it is used to complement the general mediocrity of a less than stellar show and try to keep the viewers in for them. Just to be clear, I do know that sex sells, that is an undeniable fact of life, but it doesn't mean I can't try to look at it in a more critical light and try to explain why I don't personally think fanservice is always the best of options. Now, I can be partial to shots of booty or a little boobage, yes, I guess that's a word now, or even full-blown ecchi depending on my mood, and I think I can safely say the same goes for the vast majority of the anime community. That being said, if you overthink it, like I have for the purpose of this video, most, not all, but most fanservice in anime is kind of out of place and largely unnecessary to the product as a whole. Not to mention it really doesn't contribute much beyond flaunting some assets. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it got me thinking, and thus this video came to be. More specifically, I was watching One Piece Gold, the pre-movie scene, and there was this bit.
Nami-san, Chopper-san team!
Nami? 賭けは私の負けね。
I mean, sure, it's nice to watch, but at the same time I found myself wondering, was that really necessary? For the most part, I don't really care if there's fanservice or not, and a large portion of it is just kind of there as a little bit of eye candy, and therefore I won't really dive into these examples that fail to garner a reaction one way or another. Nor will I really talk about ecchi, as it is a genre all on its own and literally exists for the purpose of fanservice, and while some may have questionable premises, they should, to a degree, be viewed in a different light. On that note, let's have a look at the good, the bad, and the firefalls of fanservice. Why Firefalls, I hear you ask? Honestly, because it's by far the best example of how bad fanservice can all but ruin a show, no matter how much we all love a little bit of naughty art here and there, and because I just wanted to talk about it for some reason. So let's start with the good side, fanservice. Outside of the aforementioned ecchi, this mostly boils down to how tasteful a scene is. In terms of taste, or lack thereof, I feel it prudent to elaborate, as by this I don't mean some posh upper-class fanservice with powdered wigs and the like. No, I am more referring to the degree to which a scene is explicitly sexual in the context of the show in which it's present. Does it fit in, and how naturally the scenes occur. Now, especially the explicitly sexual part might sound a bit odd, as most fanservice is by nature intended to appeal to the more carnal side of the viewer, but even then it doesn't have to be in your face kind of sexual, even more so if that would make it feel out of place in the context of the anime in question. Scenes like this can be something like characters having a conversation in the public bath, an onsen, or even in the shower, something that can continue the story while at the same time allows for some erotic art to be portrayed. After all, people tend to be fully capable of having a serious conversation even when not fully or at all clothed. Good fanservice could also be a thing as simple as someone waking up dressed in a soft and thin, almost to the point of see-through piece of clothing, in a manner that lets the viewers enjoy their favourite characters in a more sensual light, but at the same time conveying feelings of peace and relaxation. Or a shirtless man with their chiseled figure clear for all to see. Yes, women also enjoy fanservice. Not to mention all three of these scenes could and often do happen in a natural and organic manner that seamlessly incorporates them into the greater whole of the anime. To me, good fanservice is about scenes really fitting in. On the other hand, a shonen show can often be a bit more explicit with its approach to fanservice, as the intended audience is horny teenagers, and while the aforementioned bikini volleyball scene from One Piece may be a bit unnecessary, it isn't hugely out of place in a happy-go-lucky shonen like One Piece. But that isn't the only approach even for a shonen show. Take Full Metal Alchemist for example. There isn't a huge deal of fanservice or exposed skin outside of maybe Lust and, well, Armstrong, until we get to this scene of Winry almost taking her shirt off right in front of Edward, making the scene all the more tantalizing while still fitting in perfectly. At the same time, a romance story, such as, say, Quintessential Quintuplets for example, requires an approach far more akin to that subtle morning wake-up scene I used as example before. Something soft and deliberate, but in a way more direct while still being kind of innocent and, well, romantic for the lack of a better word. Tasteful fanservice can also be used to build character and denote how they change as time progresses. A harsh warrior woman like Saber can turn from bold to bashful as she falls in love, and her heart softens as she realizes she too is deserving of such feelings. Last but not least, good fanservice can and often is also used as a form of comedy. This is especially true when it comes to male characters being portrayed in this manner. Think for example the wrestling scene from Golden Kamuy, or like 90% of Grand Blue, and you should understand what I mean. This type of humorous nudity can be quite off-putting for some viewers, but I personally find it hilarious in most cases, as this is something where your cultural background mostly determines if you think this counts as good fanservice or not. And that quite neatly segues into the bad kind of fanservice that exists in anime. When discussing bad fanservice, it's important to keep in mind just because you or I don't like something doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, as it is quite often just a simple case of us not being the intended target audience in the first place. Also, this isn't bad fanservice, as it is purposeful dumb fuckery, including some titties. But then what is bad fanservice? The most obvious is the one that is thematically disjointed. Remember this scene from Attack on Titan? I definitely call this fanservice, and pretty good one at that. Now imagine if instead of this training montage, during a fight Mikasa's shirt were to rip apart and she would land tits first in Eren's face and proceed to rub her chest on him. Now that would make it bad fanservice, as it would be really out of place, and I kinda wish I knew how to animate this now for the purpose of this video. But before I get carried away and end up repeating myself in the points to come, let us turn to the absolute dumpster fire of fanservice that is Fire Force, the show that caused a lot of polarizing opinions as it aired. Personally, I found it to be a bit of brainless fun for the most part and generally enjoyed the show, but hot damn the fanservice was way too frequent, it was in all the wrong places, and 99% of it made absolutely no sense. Firstly, the amount of fanservice in Fire Force is frankly ridiculous. It's absolutely everywhere and not in a good way. It's a shonen show that you watch for the amazing fights, cool fire effects, and that small sliver of hope that distracts you from the bleak reality we all live in, so why on earth behind every corner you find Tamaki's clothes falling off for no perceivable reason? Seriously, her fire-resistant work uniform burns off in a compromising manner even when she's not actually fighting. And don't get me started on the random scenes that end up with her in the nude for even less sensible reasons. She's seemingly incapable of doing everyday actions such as having a conversation, carrying anything, walking, or quite possibly even breathing without ending up in an exposing position in one way or another. And as a result, there is fanservice everywhere. And it really serves to show that while quantity has a quality all in itself, sometimes enough is enough. Not only is there too much of this, the placement is all wrong. There are literally amazing fight scenes with entire seasons worth of events having led to this pivotal moment in time, where the forces of good clash with the great evils of our world and suddenly
Is that you can show off as much flesh.
Literally the entire action stops for... You see why this bothers me to no extent? Not only does it break the immersion, it throws the pacing out the window and just generally ruins everything. Not only that, there is really no need for it. Fire Force is a solid shonen in its own right, so why they felt the need to insert all of this baffles me. So, is fanservice the very thing ruining anime, and should anyone who include it be lynched immediately? Well, no. Ultimately, the purpose of fanservice is just that. To serve the fans, bring enjoyment to the fans, and that is fundamentally the point of producing any sort of entertainment, anime included. And it's never really wrong, at least not on paper. The execution, as I've covered in this video, may sometimes be less than ideal though. As closing words, I'd like to also remind you that while nudity and erotic art is the most obvious form of fanservice in visual entertainment, it is by no means the only one. Sometimes it can be as simple as an important segment in a story being animated to a stunning degree as the studio knew the fans would wish for it, or a fulfilling emotional bond between characters as their romance has been slowly built up to a satisfactory conclusion. Anything really we as fans might enjoy can be, to a degree, considered fanservice. And finally, leave your thoughts in the comments below and let me know if you agree or disagree. Do you think my points were valid, or am I full of shit? If you like this, like it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you're new, and check the links in the description if you want to engage with me outside of YouTube. With that, I have been Cheese, and I do hope to see you guys next time with more anime goodness. Ta-ta for now.